Hello there, my very good friends. On today's wrestling news, we're going to talk all about that Athena match from AEW Dark Elevation. We will mention new Optimism on AEW returns for the first time since All Out. From there, we're going to tell you whether or not MJF actually wants to turn face. And following all of that, we will talk about the main roster star who's going to be making more appearances in NXT. I'm Andy Murray.
I'm Michael Hamflett.
This is the news. Let's kick things off by talking about this Athena Jody Brett situation. So, if you exist on the internet, which you clearly do because you're watching this video on it, you will maybe have seen clips of this match doing the rounds. Some very stiff work going on, some starchy strikes, for sure, knee strikes, forearms, all kinds of bits and pieces. There's another clip that was quite popular, was one of Athena putting Jody Brett to the outside. This is a match, by the way, that aired on this week's episode of Dark Elevation. That went out on Monday. It was recorded last week in Toronto, which is Jody's hometown. Jody was the enhancement talent for this match, pretty typical layout for Dark Elevation, but she got a great reception. She got a massive pop in the ring. They were chanting her name and stuff, and as a result of this, according to Fightful Select, Athena decided she was going to work heel in the match. Makes a lot of sense. Good psychology. But the match then became too aggressive for AEW management's liking. If you've seen the clips, you might know what we're talking about here, but yeah, there's some strikes, there's some running knees and various other bits and pieces that look just like, to me, when I first saw this, it just looked like good, hard-ass wrestling, but it quickly got blown out of proportion a little bit in social media. Social media blowing something out of proportion? Never. It went kind of viral in the wrestling space at the very least, and this led to management speaking with Athena and Brett after the match just to make sure that everything was okay. Now, there was a point in this where Jody slipped when she was attempting to enter her comeback phase, and at one stage she kind of lost her way, asking Athena for guidance on where are we going, what are we doing next, and that's when it got a little bit starchy, my friends. Fightful sources have confidence that Brett had no issue in dealing with the increased physicality, so all the hand-wringing about shooting and shoot fights and stuff was nonsense. I mean, we kind of knew that in the moment. We'll break this down. But they believe that clear communication would have prevented something that shouldn't have happened from happening. I think that's quite a fair stance to take. Now, one source stated their belief that the match went this way just as a consequence of Athena working heel and heating up and stuff like that in the wake of Jody's strong babyface reaction. Fightful notes that not every spot that was being microanalyzed on Twitter was born of this situation. So the one that sticks out for me in particular is the one where Athena puts Jody to the outside. I saw some people going, oh, she dumped her to the outside. It's like, have you ever seen the suplex? Have you ever seen any kind of lift before? If this was a shoot, my friends, Jody Brett would have just sandbagged it.
Posting with her hands.
Well, she like lands on her feet and stuff. Like it's a hard landing. Don't get me wrong, but it's not a shoot. Now Brett offered no complaints backstage about how things panned out. There's no indication of a post-bout confrontation or anything like that. And Athena, actually, if you watched it, Athena helped her to her feet after the bell, raised her hand, all of that stuff. So, gonna let you riff on this for a little bit. We've just watched this in the office again. We've both seen it before. I think for me, a lot of this got blown way out of proportion straight away. And specifically, if you look at one spot that you just pointed out to me that I didn't notice earlier, after Jody gets shotgun drop kicked into the barricade on the outside, when Athena goes to pick her up for the next phase of the match, Jody's smiling and
big old smile.
And she's talking to her. They're clearly in the moment here, but unleash, my friend.
I'd be happy if I was involved in that spot because it was a spot of the GD year. Go back and watch this. Like, don't listen to the bad faith grifters. Problem with online circles is it's full of squares, and I include us in that, right? But not today.
I mean, look at the shape of our heads.
Indeed, that's perfect. That is one of each. Not today though. Like I've seen the likes of Dutch Mantel and the Road Dogg. Why on earth those two gentlemen would be criticising something in such horrendous faith, I don't know.
Yeah, why would they do that?
But ignore it. Ignore the grift and watch the match and make the mind up for yourself, because I watched this the other day. We watched it together in the office this morning, and all I'm watching is a match that basically develops its own inbuilt story as a result of the physicality. Like you say, Athena's choice, it would seem, artistically to work heel in the moment made sense within the context of this otherwise completely indistinct squash they were probably booked to have. So they've maximised their minutes, as Jim Ross would always advise people to do, on a show where people often don't even talk about anything that takes place. Yeah. You're always looking to get a bit of attention for Jodie Threat. It's a huge bit of exposure for her. They might even run this back. She might get future dates with AEW. This might give Athena a bit of spice or a bit of direction going forward. It's a great bit of business, and as somebody that's never taken a bump in my life, I will say, don't listen to the guys that have taken all them bumps and instead watch this and make your mind up for yourself, because I think this is what more wrestling should look like. I think we share a bit of a take here that there's an uncomfortable level of like systemic misogyny and sexism bubbling under some of the criticisms. I don't want to speak on anyone's behalf, but you just sense that would this have really been the case if you were watching old footage of a Psycho Sid squash from back in the day? It just doesn't feel
or
quite
a Legion
right
of
to me.
Doom match or something, which they did stuff
sure.
like this in every single match, by the way.
And much worse and much more unprofessional.
I think it is very telling that the loudest criticism of this stuff is coming from old white men.
Yeah.
I watched this and my first instinct was that this kicks ass.
Yeah, it really honestly, man, this drop kick, I've watched it 100 million times. It's so good.
Absolutely. Like, it's good to hear that there's no issues stemming from it and all of that. Obviously, like, things like people getting beaten up in the ring and shot on or whatever is not good, but that's not what this was. And watching it, me personally, I never had the idea that this was what it was. But great stuff here from Fightful. Great report, clearing up some issues that did need to be cleared, and it goes to show that Twitter's not real, guys.
Yeah.
Next report. AEW returns, maybe. Sort of some optimism. It's
Hopefully.
a bit vague, but we're in here. Fightful Select, again, Sean doing the work, putting food on our table, baby. Coming through. He had a big report yesterday following the release of Ace Steel, of course, if you missed that. He's gone. He's gone. He's not in the company anymore. He was, of course, involved in that brawl post All Out. Him and CM Punk fighting the Elite. He was biting Kenny Omega and pulling hair and it's just good stuff. You can't make this up.
Nibble me, daddy!
How is it that we're almost 2 months on from this and it's still weird?
It's crazy,
it's still really weird.
Sidra hit me up with the phrase brawl out the other day, which I hadn't heard before. That followed on from the gripe bomb.
Fightful have been using that and I like it a lot. I want to co-opt it. But yeah, obviously, right, the Elite and CM Punk, they've been suspended. They've not been on TV. Fightful notes that this week, for the first time, pretty much since All Out, or Brawl Out, if you will, the outlet had heard of movement or optimism on potential returns following the fight. Now, there's no word on what exactly this means. It is quite vague. But those at the heart of the matter have reportedly been in greater contact with AEW recently, whatever that may mean. So obviously, there's been a few stuff from Dave, Meltzer, and others going, they've not really had anything from management, pending legal issues, all of that stuff. It comes in the same week, not only that Steel was released, but Tony Schiavone straight up mentioned the Elite. He was quite hesitant about it, wasn't he? It was funny. He was like, of course, Death Triangle won these vacant belts from when the Elite had to vacate them. Punk was in the Ring of Honor title video package. The Bucks, I think, were in the commercial for Rampage. So little breadcrumb stuff. Page last week, Hangman Page was like, all my friends have gone away, referencing the Dark Order and the Elite. I just want them back at this stage. Sort the legal stuff out.
Yeah,
get IRS in. He'll do it.
I'm not so sure in wrestling that time heals all wounds, but at very least the wounds scab over and then time will pick them. And I just think that if nothing else, this is not to say that any of this, and obviously all the reporting of this has been not so much of a blackout, but with all the potential legal issues, nobody's really known anything, so can't report anything as such. So we are not here to stoke those fires and say, right, that's it, everybody's coming back. Everybody's going to be coming back next week. Looking forward to Dynamite. Buy your tickets to see Kenny Omega, even if he's not on the poster. But I just think it's okay to lean on a bit of circumstantial evidence to say that at least the ice is melting a bit. I don't know, and I think everybody wants it to. Yeah. I think you'd be hard pressed to find somebody that doesn't want a positive outcome to this and the potential return of all four of them. So I think this is going to bode well for AEW's television as well. This hanging in the air instead of the cloud of what's going on, I think is it's vital to kind of help AEW's television finally move forward from this, because it felt like it was struggling to trudge through the sludge of it all.
Trudge through the sludge. That's my daily existence. A couple of shorter stories here to deal with after all of that stuff that we've just broken down. MJF, does he want to turn face? He's been teasing it. Been subsequent suggestions he might be moving in that direction on programming. The answer is no. He doesn't fancy it. This is according to Dave Meltzer on Wrestling Observer Radio. Despite his huge crowd reactions and certain other bits and pieces he's been doing, he doesn't want to make the switch just yet. He's like a huge merch seller as a heel. He's still technically listed as a villain and stuff, but yeah, he is getting those crazy in-arena pops. So for now, it looks like he's going to continue down that route. To me, that suggests some kind of screw job with the Moxley and the title and the Regal and all of that stuff at Full Gear. But yeah, there you go.
I think it's cool and brave, and at this point not unexpected from somebody that like is every bit the generational talent he says himself to be. Typically you hear about heels want to turn babyface for the merch money, doesn't need to turn for that reason, or for the adulation of the crowd and what that must do for your ego, doesn't need to turn heel for that reason. So why not push this absolutely as far as you can before officially confirming it and doing whatever you would do to make MJF, whether he has to embrace the audience or whether he has to turn his vitriol on another bad guy, and that's how you do it. Why would you do it until you had to? You know, this is not a case of striking while the iron is hot. This iron's going to be piping hot for years and years to come. He's what, 25 or something?
Yeah, 26.
26. Run with this version specifically as long as you can, because sometimes the hottest spell is just before the turn. When the turn happens, sometimes it kind of feels like, done now then. Yeah. So like ride this as much as you can.
Exactly, I completely agree. And when it eventually happens, be it 6 months from now, be it 6 years from now, the babyface run is going to be hotter than the surface of the sun. Our final report here, real simple one. PW Insider Mike Johnson coming through. Who's the main roster star? Who's going to be making more appearances on NXT? It's Shinsuke Nakamura. He returned to developmental this week. He wrestled Stacks. No, I'm not doing the voice. Wilborn's on holiday. No. He's gonna be back more often. So he's a former NXT champion. He hasn't really been doing anything on the main roster. So yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, he last wrestled on TV against, oddly, last wrestled on TV against Happy Corbin, which shows how long it's been for both of those two men. And his old black and gold gear on Tuesday night looked absolutely amazing. Huge paper for Nakamura coming back. Might not be the worst thing, this, you know. There isn't anything going on for him. Sol Ruka is on the show and she likes to surf. So does he. So there's his inbuilt 2.0 adjacent gimmick. I think this is all right. I think NXT should be a place for more wrestlers that haven't got anything going on the main roster to come and just add a bit of colour and a bit of flavour. We've seen Apollo Crews coming back, he's seen himself, he can see the future. But he's come back and he's just presumably going to help Grayson Waller and whoever else he feuds with. Nakamura can do the same. Yeah. It's way more of a developmental than it ever was before. So that's what very established veterans can come and do for wrestlers that desperately need reps with those types. You can't get better wrestling people that have been in the ring the same amount of time as you. That's the old adage, isn't it?
Exactly.
So he's there for that, if nothing else.
And maybe someone that helps compensate for the kind of sparse house show schedule.
Yeah.
So interesting, very interesting, and I'm in favour of these more tenured guys coming down and working with the younger wrestlers. It's good stuff across the board. Today's questions from Twitter. We've gone back to Twitter after experimenting with the community page. We will see what we do with stuff going forward, but we'll always have an opening for you guys on Twitter to ask us questions. It's always going to be there. Don't worry, it's not going away. Right, Wabbit. It's come through. Good morning, heel with the eel. You know what? The eel hasn't shown up for work again. What a layabout prick. And whoever might be subbing in today, here he is. There's always all this talk about who will beat Roman, but with another contender joining the fray this week, Gallows and Anderson. Hey, man. Who would you like to see liberate one or both titles from the Usos? I'm going to let you go first because I think we have the same answer.
Yeah, I think we do have the same answer. It's obvious at this point. It's been laid out in the booking. It's The Fiend and Creed Bratton from The Office. We'll just pick up the breadcrumbs and it's all there for you. Nah, we're going to go down the same path here. It's Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. WWE have been incredibly patient in not rushing to that when it first appeared. Well, obvious, really, right around Clash at the Castle time. Sami Zayn has only grown in his role within the Bloodline. Those babyface responses are for real. It matters. It's going to make money. And fair play to Triple H. I'm so impressed with how it feels like he's lined up his WrestleMania card in September, October for the Survivor Series run. It's how it always used to be. If that's how he's going to do it, and all these clues that we've been putting to see, was it Kevin Owens the other week saying you need a new shirt.
Yeah.
One of these days, Bloodline are going to batter him, and he's going to be there to save him. It's going to be his old mate, and that match is going to be so heated, and physically, it's going to rule as well. It's got to be them. It has to be them.
There you go. That's my answer as well. I'm trying to think of a dumb one I could throw in there as well.
They've done a nice job of making that New Day match coming up soon feel important. They're going to, Usos want to break the record. Yeah. That's going to make for a cool TV main event. I just don't see it. The New Day will be sad to lose the record, but I just don't see it. Just not right now.
I completely agree, and it'll be a good moment when the Usos top them in that career legacy rivalry. But yeah, lots of good options. I'd kind of be here for Giovanni Vinci and Ludwig Kaiser as an option as well, but they're heels, so it's a bit complicated. But yeah, that'll be my shout too. I think it's just a great story, and I'm loving every minute of it at the moment. Jose Mondragon asks the following. With Toni Storm killing it as interim champion, who would you have? Would you have her beat Thunder Rosa? If not, who topples Toni? If not, who topples Rosa? Thanks, and keep up the good work. No, thank you, my friend. Thank you. So, lineage of or pathway of the AEW women's title, what are you doing with it?
I'm going with my heart rather than my head. I think I want Toni Storm to beat Thunder Rosa. I'm an advocate of interim titles, it would appear. Because over this year, we've basically seen Jon Moxley become an interim title and be raging at that and thus go on to have one of the best summers of his career. Toni Storm now seems to be following that mould. It's almost this perfect motivational tool for a wrestler where you are both negging them and pushing them at the very same time. They've got this belt over their shoulder, they're having these killer matches as the leader of a division, while in the background somebody's whispering, that's not the real quiz, that's not the real quiz. Like, Toni Storm has worked to win at that role. Like, I like Thunder Rosa a great deal, but I think if you were to have this match tomorrow, the fans would back Toni Storm as well. I think that would and could only go one way. Whether or not you bounce Thunder Rosa into a new heel roll off the back of it, because she was like, oh, you fans just abandoned me when I was injured and all the rest of it. I'm a big fan of when you can rewarding the hard work of pro wrestlers, and Toni Storm is that right now.
Yeah, I totally agree. At some point over the past couple of months, the people in this division, and I don't know if it was a edict or they just decided to do this, but at some point they just decided to kick the crap out of each other. Yeah. Like, they've been working really starchy, and it's resulted in some really fun matches. I really liked Tony and Shida this week. It was only like, if you minus the picture-in-picture, it was only like 5 minutes long, but it still whipped ass. Yeah. It was brisk, it was
tags
competitive.
in the forwards have been classic.
Yeah, I'm really into this stuff. It's just fun. And yeah, it'd be nice if we could have like some 15-minute matches here and there, but like, I agree completely. Let's move in that direction eventually. But like, this is better than what it was before, at the very least. So for me, where are we going with this title? For me, I like Thunder Rosa and I like Toni Storm, but I'm really into what Toni's doing with her act at the moment. I think I would have her go over Thunder Rosa, and then it's a bit of wishful thinking, fantasy booking, but she is getting over to a good degree. Jamie Hayter wins the belt, and then you can do her and Britt, the formal breakup after the tease at the previous pay-per-view, and you can that's like 6 months of storylines right there. So hey, let's go. And our final one comes from Dan, that elite bearded warlock. He's a wizard. He's a wizard, Harry. Hey, rest in peace, Robbie Coltrane, man. That sucks.
He's a cracker.
There you go. Morning, guys. With the whole thing between the Bucks, Dog Savior Kenny Omega, and CM Phil seemingly being resolved in AEW, how would you reintroduce them, and would you use the situation for an on-screen story? So, yeah, we're probably quite away from this being resolved yet with the legal issues and stuff. But like, hypothetically, what you doing with these people?
In my opinion, CM Punk versus Kenny Omega was the biggest match AEW had.
Yeah.
It's now bigger. It's pro wrestling, right? I can't look at this through any other lens than that. If they are able to work together again, and I know that CM Punk and Colt Cabana was a dicey thing and indeed seemed to feed into everything that happened here, but if they are able to share a locker room again, it feels like it has to be a matter of time before they share the ring. It's this huge dream match that has only become dreamier as a result of seeming like CM Punk may never even wrestle for AEW again, or for that matter, the Elite, I suppose. You imagine the Young Bucks would slot back in just fine within the tags and the trios and whatnot. Kenny and the Bucks, away from all the glamour and the drama of the Kenny dream matches that you're not getting because he's gone again, we're probably going to map out some long trios run. Yeah. So they might advocate to just start that back up.
I would do that.
Whatever their plan was.
Put them over Death Triangle straight away, Kenny and the Bucks. I'm right there with you. I don't think the Death Triangle would lose anything with that because they're kind of doing the whole disconnect thing with Pac playing heel and the Lucha Brothers playing faces anyway.
Audience reactions will be interesting. Yeah. Like, I wonder how many, after the, there's a culture war for everything now, but after the fight itself, there was a clear culture war between people that sided with Punk and sided with Elite. I wonder how that'll be reflected in crowds. Yeah. Like, I wonder how, if either side will just be received as babyfaces if Tony Khan the Booker is telling you he's a babyface, they're heels, whatever. Yeah. That'll be quite interesting, but if they find a way back, all of this for me has to lead to Punk Omega. Sure. That is so much money. There is so much money to that.
The thing with the caveat for that, for me, is that if you're Tony Khan, I don't know about his ability to do this, but if you're Tony Khan, right, you have to be 100% sure that these two aren't going to be total pricks to each other backstage, right? given that what happened, is CM Punk the kind of guy who can kind of separate those feelings and not let an on-screen program become an even bigger issue backstage? We watched the press conference, didn't we? So, like, I'm reluctant to take sides in this because it is a culture war in this Elite versus CM Punk thing, and I will not take sides in it, even though there's clearly some wrongdoing, a foot that we've mentioned several times. So yeah, you just got to be sure of that aspect of it. But come on, man, if you can get these people to cooperate and be on the same page, and it's not going to poison your locker room, that's the match. That's the match. Right. And finally today, picture this: you're Ace Steel. You're Ace Steel. You leave WWE.
Yeah.
You let go. You kind of come into AEW like a month or so later. It's like, oh, create a landing spot for me as a backstage guy that didn't exist before. Awesome. It's February, a few months go past, 6 months later, you're on TV, you're G and CM Punk up for his match. A few days later,
effing and jeffing,
you pay a fine because the one time you're on screen, you swear, you break the rules, you swear, oh no, what have I done? The next day or whatever, you're at the pay-per-view, there's a fight. What do you do in that fight? You bite Kenny Omega, former world champion, and you pull his hair. Right? All of this stuff happens, you get suspended, you're off TV, you're the least valuable person in this equation. No disrespect to what you brought to the table, but the Elite and Punk are pretty damn valuable. You get released. Yeah. What's your reaction to that? But keep in mind that days before you get released, you've posted the song Freedom on social media. What's your reaction to getting released, Michael Hamflett?
I would just go quietly into the night and maybe give it a few days, have a breather. Take the weekend, it's a Wednesday, take the weekend.
And that's why you're not Ace Steel. Dave Meltzer on the board, on the Figure 4 Online Wrestling Observer board, somebody said, it's been about a week here since Ace Steel tweeted Freedom by the Blues Brothers. Sounds like he was told he was being let go, but the news got out today. You'd think that he'd be kind of cool with it or whatever, or at peace with it. Not according to Dave. Apparently he was the total opposite and was very surprised. What? you bit a man, mate. You bit a guy. There was bite marks on his arm for a week. Wow.
Wrestlers, man, honestly.
Wrestling's unique.
He's going to be setting up a burner as we speak to criticise the Athena match.
Yeah. I think he might be Road Dogg, actually. But yeah, thank you guys for joining us.
So you're going to run Raw? You get fired from AEW. You're Ace Steel. You've been fired from AEW.
We could probably do something with Bobby Fish come to think of it. Man, is it hot in here, or is it just the heat that's on me?
Show me the lie.
Crickets. You could hear a mouse poo on candy floss when he said
that. That was the cleaner version of the rude one.
Yeah. Try not to quote Chael Sonnen these days. But yeah, well, thank you for joining us today on the news. It's been a wonderful time. You can follow us on Twitter at WhatCulture WWE. You can follow Michael Hamflett at
Michael Hamflett.
What does the Michael stand for?
Oh no! It stands for Michael.
Okay. You can follow me on Twitter at Andy H. Murray, and the H stands for Hamflett.
How do you riff this every day?
I'm just a terrible guy, man. See you later. Bye.